Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Well, the Russians are moving ahead with their plan of annexing those four territories, that two independent, they call themselves republics, and they're recognized by the Russians and I think North Korea and Syria and maybe another entity or country. And they're moving on. They follow the steps, the Russian legal steps in acquiring new territories. So let's see what's going on here. I have to move around here because of the sun. And this article comes from Sputnik, a Russian news outlet, from today. Today is the what? The 3rd of October. Oh my, time flies. State Duma ratifies agreement on DPR, LPR, Zaporozhye and Kherson regions joining Russia. All right. The ratification comes on the heels of a ceremony in the Kremlin on Friday at which President Vladimir Putin and the leaders of the Donbas republics and the pro-Russian administrators of the Zaporozhye and Kherson regions signed treaties on the region's administration into the Russian Federation. The State Duma unanimously ratified treaties on the admission of the Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republics and the Kherson and Zaporozhye regions into Russia on Monday. And I'm quoting, the Russian Federation now has 89 constituent entities. We are together. Duma speaker Vyacheslav Volodin said shortly after the treaty's ratification. The entry of the new territories is the only way to save millions of lives from the criminal regime in Kiev, to stop the shelling of civilians, the elderly, women, children, to protect their rights to the native language, culture, history and faith. End quote. The agreements, which were signed in the Kremlin on September 30th, now require formal ratification by the Federation House, Russia's upper house of parliament, like the Senate. The body is expected to consider the matter on Tuesday. So that's tomorrow. What do you think is going to happen? What if those guys say no? Yeah, right. Now we have something new here. Just so you know, live Kherson region to enter Russia with 2 districts of Nikolaev region. State Duma stated. So they got 2 districts from Nikolaev. What does that mean? I don't know. Why don't they decree, I don't know, Washington DC as being part of Russia if they go this way? The treaties outline the borders of the new territories as those which, quote-unquote, existed on the day of the formation and acceptance into the Russian Federation. Wow, so the treaties outline the borders of the new territories as those which existed on the day of their formal and acceptance in the Russian Federation, with their boundaries with foreign states to be considered the state border of the Russian Federation. The documents also specify that the territories will retain their current names, with their leaders to receive the status of governors and to be appointed by the president. People have made their choice, quote unquote. The Donbas republics and Russian-controlled and administrated regions of Zaporozhye and Kherson held status referendums over a 5-day period between September 23 and 27. The overwhelming majority of residents in each territory, ranging from 87% to 99%, voted to join Russia, their vote turnout ranging from 77% to 97.5%. So this is what's going to happen right now. And the Russian president, Putin, right, called on Ukraine's authorities to cease fire and return to the negotiating table with Moscow. Kiev's current authorities should respect the free expression of people's will. There is no other way. There is the only way to peace, he said. This is the only way to peace. And Putin added that Russia would defend its new territories as with all the force and resources we have. Oh my, you got a lot of resources, I can tell that. Now the United States and its allies slammed referendums as sham votes and characterized the accession treaties as pretext for the Russian annexation of Ukraine territory, with US President Joe Biden vowing to help Kiev regain the lost lands by further strengthening its hard military and diplomatically. Strengthening its hand. Okay. They go with the history here, but we don't go to that with the Minsk agreements and all that. The thing is, so the Duma ratified it, goes up, moves up to the House, let's say the House, that's their Senate, and then from there, after that, I think it goes either to goes straight to Putin, and then he's gonna do the final Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin, and that's it, forever ours. We'll see. The thing, I mean, that's gonna happen. And probably the next day or the same day, he's going to call on Ukraine to cease all military operations on the territory of Russia, if there's any Ukrainian military currently over there fighting. He would ask them to stop fighting and to not attack the country. And probably is going to say, if you continue doing what you're doing, then we consider declaring war against you. And declaring war probably is a, you know, obviously elevates the situation to any kind of weapons, and we are under attack. And then you can have general mobilization if that's the case. But I don't think they would go to general mobilization, but maybe that would save, quote unquote, if you want to call it, I will call it that way, if they want to save the Ukrainians from being nuked. Then unfortunately, then they can do, okay, this is a war declaration. If you, I will give you 24 hours. If within 24 hours you do not stop attacking our troops and get out of our territory, then we will declare war on you, and then we can have general mobilization, and we start marching towards whatever they're going to march to, and avoid using nuclear weapons. Will they use nuclear weapons? That would bring the same argument as former President Harry Truman used for dropping 2 atomic bombs in an offensive, not defensive manner, because they dropped it on Japan as they were winning and cornering Japan. And they said, well, we did this so we can save the lives of our boys. That's true. But I'm just stating, justified, not justified, it happened, and the war stopped after 2 atomic bombs dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, 6th of August and 9th of August 1945. Then that was an offensive, not a defensive, like your corner. Let's say the Japanese who had, you know, they were surrounded and cornered. If they would have used nuclear weapons, if they had atomic bombs at that time, that would have been in a defensive manner, even though they were the physical aggressors. Why I say physical? Because there were some economic aggressors that some historians claim that triggered actually the Japanese to respond militarily to being prevented buying and you know, making contacts with areas that that sold resources like oil, for instance, and other things, rubber and so on. Japan was trying to industrialize itself, and it was already ahead of everyone in the area. But spheres of interest, United States across the Pacific told the Japan, who was close by, you are not supposed to go over there, you cannot go over there, you cannot go over there. And Japan said, okay, well, then what other ways we have if we can't go and do business with those people because you say no? And anyway, I'm not saying the Japanese were the victims. Look what they did in China, for instance, right? Forming Manchukuo, the part of Manchuria, took it all and said, this is a new one, new Manchukuo emperor and all that, and the crimes and all that. But, so, this is it. They, Duma unanimously approved it. Democracy at work. Yay! Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.